Come along with me on week 2 of my early retirement at the age of 51. If you haven't seen my other retirement videos, make sure you save this so you can come back to it. Last Friday, my husband sent me one of those "We have dinner reservations at Palisade at 6:15" messages. I love those. On Saturday, after running some errands, we had lunch at an international food court and found some pretty darn good tacos recommended by a Seattle food YouTuber. Although it's going to look like we do nothing but eat, you can bet the 33 pounds I've lost so far this year that it only looks that way. But I'm clearly obsessed with food, so I do take a lot of videos of what we eat. This is from dinner at Loretta's Bar and Grill in the Georgetown district of Seattle on Saturday night. On Monday, after I saw my daughter off to high school and my usual breakfast and CEO hour, I had errands to run all morning, starting with a stop at Ulta Beauty to pick up a couple of items I simply cannot live without, from 2 of my favorite brands. First, Charlotte Tilbury's setting spray. I've tried and discarded all others. I wish we'd had this stuff when I first started doing makeup in the early 90s. Then, Hourglass Veil Loose Setting Powder. Between these two, my makeup will not budge all day. Next stop is the pharmacy to pick up my GLP-1 medication. My doctor was able to push through a 3-month supply, just in case there is a lapse in health insurance coverage before COBRA kicks in. Next stop on my errands is my post office box, which I only get to about once a month. Though now that I actually have time during business hours, I can probably get there more often, right? So, 2 weeks ago, I left my 30-year career in corporate America, my 6-figure salary, full benefits, annual bonus, stock grants, and the appearance of stability to focus on my health and family. I also left all the stress that comes along with trying to hold on to that career. I don't have a trust fund or even a nest egg, just a very supportive family and a lot of plans for the second half of my life. Back at the post office, I always do a quick sort and immediately discard any junk mail. No sense in bringing that back home with me just to toss it out there. They provide a counter with recycle bins just for this purpose. Last stop for today is the grocery store. I admit this is one of my least favorite chores. Ever since the pandemic, I've taken advantage of the convenience of grocery delivery, even if it costs more. When I was working full-time, it saved me so much time and frustration. Of course, now I have time to shop in person, which should save us money. Speaking of money, will we run out of that now that I'm not working? Will that force me to go back to a 9-to-5 job? I literally woke up yesterday morning in a cold sweat after having nightmares that I had to go back to a corporate job. In that dream, all my old employers came to offer me my old jobs back. When I tell you I was so relieved to wake up from that. Note to self, clean out the back of your car, Jen. Geez, you don't even have room to load groceries back there, and you drive an SUV. Just one more thing I now should have time for. Now to use these groceries to do some cooking. Inspired by the tacos we had over the weekend, I tried out a new recipe for carne asada slow-cooked in the crock pot. Recipe development is one of my favorite things. The wannabe scientist in me likes to experiment with cooking methods, flavor combinations, and balancing everything to form a cohesive dish. This year, I've been really focused on turning all my comfort food favorites into healthier versions. You'll see that reflected in my food content in my Hungry AF brand, and I admit I may have a cookbook or 2 in the works. Side note, I'm notoriously bad at plating, though like everyone else, I eat with my eyes. Some of my favorite restaurants have less to do with how the food tastes, and more to do with how beautifully the dish is presented. Luckily, for Christmas, I received multiple cookbooks and plating technique books so I can teach myself how to plate like the experts do. Of course, working as many hours as I did until just a week ago, I never found the time to learn. Hopefully, all that's about to change. For this recipe, I used a flank steak and whipped up a marinade to pour over it. The base for that was orange juice, lime juice, and soy sauce with a spice blend mixed in. You'll see this recipe featured in edition 7 of the Hungry AF newsletter and podcast. I'll also do a more detailed cooking video with all the ingredients for you. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I prepped the ingredients and started the crock pot at lunchtime so this would be ready by dinner. That frees up my entire afternoon. This cooked for just 4 hours on high. I sliced up the steak and returned it to the pot. Be sure to slice across the grain for the most tender, less stringy bite. At dinner time, I toasted up some corn tortillas and assembled my tacos. Of course, everyone has their own way they like to create the perfect taco. I start with a bed of shredded cabbage. The next layer is my protein, with a squirt of fresh lime. I'll sometimes top with salsa and light sour cream. No cheese for me, but you do you. This recipe was a win and will go into the rotation. When it comes to breakfast recipes, I usually keep things pretty simple. This week, I started with a high-protein, low-fat Greek yogurt, added 1 cup of sliced fruit, and a crunch element for texture, like a low-sugar granola or a tablespoon of ground flaxseed. I spent the rest of the week packing to move in the next month or so and working on my business. We also had a birthday to celebrate this week, and the only way to celebrate a king is with a feast. Din Tai Fung is the best place for that here on Seattle's east side. The highlight for me was the shaved ice mango dessert. As you can see, 3 of us sampled an array of dishes, and we really had to work together to get the job done. Still, we ended up taking home 2 bags of leftovers. No one was mad about that. Stay tuned for more of what my life is like now that I've retired early.